Who is that girl I see? It's Mulan on Film Threat Reviews. I'm Alan Ning. I'm with Zorianna Kit, and we are reviewing Disney's Mulan on Disney+. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on what you thought. Hopefully you have a lot to say about Mulan. Of the long string of Disney remakes, a young Chinese maiden disguises herself as a male warrior in order to save her father. All right, so I definitely have feelings about this movie.
Well, I think you should go first because you're Asian and it's an all Asian cast, and I would like to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so let me just say, as a movie itself, and if I were to remove all prejudice from it, it's an okay action movie. My issue is the same issue I have with Disney remaking all these movies, and particularly with this one. When the original Mulan came out, that was a big deal for me, my family, my friends. It was the first time really Disney took a liking to Asian culture, and they took the story of Mulan and they told it, and we were all excited. You know, it's like, oh, they're gonna do a Chinese story, and not only that, they're gonna cast Asian American actors. The entire movie, you know, I knew everyone who was in the original Mulan. I knew from television, from movies. They were the who's who of Chinese American actors, not Asian American actors. I mean, George Takei and Pat Morita, B.D. Wong, Ming-Na Wen. You know, it was, you know, I knew everybody in it, and then it was a traditional Disney cartoon. I had songs. You know, it had a great ballad that we called, you know, we sing these songs still today. And it was really one of the first real female empowerment movies. Maybe Pocahontas took that role first, but it was definitely, empowering women. And so when I saw this one, I was like, you know, all the way through, it was just like, man, everything that I loved about that original animated feature is just gone. It was, just the fact that it was shot in China, Chinese actor. This is where I began having problems with it. And
why did you have a problem with it being shot in China? And
you know what it is? You know what it is? It's okay. So going back to just the movie as a movie, it is, I've seen a lot of Chinese movies, Chinese action movies, and I will tell you, for the most part, they're bad. But this one is not the greatest Chinese story. It doesn't have the elements that I recognize as being a Chinese action movie. And I don't want to play the game of identity politics, but I wonder how this movie would have turned out if they had allowed Chinese directors, filmmakers, writers to kind of retell that story, but under the guidance of, well, this is still a Disney film, because it just didn't feel like a Chinese action movie that I've been watching all these years.
But I think that wasn't the first and foremost thing it was trying to be. It was a Disney movie first, based on a beloved character that's considered part of the Disney princess arc, although she is not your traditional princess. But I just know when my kids were little and I would get them the Disney princess sets. I mean, Mulan was somebody that was in there alongside Cinderella and Belle and Pocahontas and all of them. So they were all grouped in that sort of princess packaging. So I think I didn't expect to go in there seeing a Chinese action film. I went in there expecting to see a Disney remake, a live action of a beloved character. And I think that's what I got.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. And I would, stated that way. Yeah, that's what it was. And I think on my end of the fence here, when you do see something that tries to be authentically Chinese, there's just things you look for and want to see, and it just wasn't there.
I understand. Being Ukrainian, that's my first language. To see that portrayed on screen, or seeing a Ukrainian story being misappropriated or whatnot, I get it. You get very protective of your culture, and you want it done to certain specification, and Americans just can't ever live up to that.
Yeah, so if I were to remove the existence of the original Mulan, I would say that this was a good Chinese, good action film. Is of a Chinese story, told by basically corporate Disney, with an attempt to be woke at the same time.
Okay.
But again, it just there are just elements missing that I am just so used to seeing when I see Chinese films.
Sure. Well, as someone who's very white and very blonde, and who is not immersed in your culture, and am only gleaned from it from what I know, what I've collected over the years with my own viewership and interactions. To me, I love this movie. Like, the second it opened, it just, the opening action scene where we learn Mulan's true character. I mean, I was engrossed, and I thought the action was fantastic. And I felt like I was watching not quite a Marvel movie, but really like along those lines of it being an action film where you have all those glorious fight scenes that a Marvel movie contains. So if someone is a fan of watching superheroes fight, I think you get a lot of that stuff here. At the same time, I also felt that Mulan, being a girl, I loved how strong and independent she was, and how there were so many societal constraints of trying to put her in a box because she's a girl, a female, a woman, and she just defies all of it. And nowhere is there a kiss. There is no falling in love with some man who's going to save her. There is no interest in any man here. And that is just so critical for me, that did not happen anywhere in this film. But lastly, because of Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, let me address that for a second. There was a real issue I had there where what really frustrated me about the women empowerment aspect of it was, what made Mulan special, what made her a great warrior. In the original cartoon, she was a great warrior because she trained, she worked hard, she was dedicated to saving her people. In this one, there was elements of that, but also she had magical powers, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that is like, well, so for a woman to succeed as a great warrior, she has to now have magical powers, which you never got that message in that first film.
Got it. Yes, it was different.
But again, if I remove all that and I was telling a Chinese story, that would fit.
Yeah.
That is actually a storyline you could see in a Chinese.
Yeah. Considering the themes of empowerment, and we are in such a critical time with the Me Too movement and equality, gender equality, I do think the timing for a film like this is spot on. But from a cultural standpoint, I really felt like this film, I didn't feel like I was watching something that was from another culture. I didn't feel like I was tuning in to watch like something Chinese. It was, to me, it transcended culture. It's sort of like Black Panther. People went to see it not because it was a Black movie, but because it transcended culture, and you went for the themes and the characters. Crazy Rich Asians, same thing. Like, it transcended being an Asian movie because everyone related. Oh, yeah. And I feel this is on par the same way, where you're not necessarily saying, well, this is a Chinese movie or a white movie, or what color is this movie? It's an amazing story that all our daughters should watch and all our sons should see. That's how I see it.
Well, I'll give you an example of how it didn't feel Chinese enough, but it is really with the action sequences. I thought the action sequences were really good, but in a way they attempted to bring in some Chinese elements into the action, but really treat it as an accent as opposed to that's how we stage fights. For example, if you were to go to Netflix, they have the Ip Man series, and in those, people float, people walk on air. They'll kick themselves up, kick you in the face with both feet.
Yeah.
While you're flying in the middle of the air.
Yeah.
There's elements of that. There's a part where the villains run up a wall.
Yes.
But they were just little accents. Aside from that, it was just swordplay, archery, things like that. And I was like, well, okay, there was a missed moment there. I mean, if I were a betting person, I feel like the Chinese are very particular about their films, and if it doesn't fit what they think is a good film, they're not going to watch it. And I think Mulan's going to run into that problem. I don't think it's going to
be backlash.
No, I don't think there'll be backlash. I just don't think people will watch it.
In China, or the Chinese community in general?
In China.
In China.
Which is essentially part of the economic model here, because they are, especially in this time of people not going to theaters, they need a broad audience to make some money. And I'm just that would be my wager at this point.
Got it. Well, as a whole, I looked at this film and I thought it definitely had that Disney magic. It was magical seeing Mulan fight and dodge arrows or catch a stick, or that opening scene where she's chasing a chicken. I mean, it just had all those elements. It's Disney magic. Yeah. And then the production design, everything is so colorful in this movie. Everything is so lush and beautiful that it has those Disney elements of just looking like a Disney movie. To me, it had the magic, and I bought it. I loved it. To me, this is, I only wish I could see it on a big screen in the theaters. I thought it was fabulous.
No, definitely. If you're going to see it, try to see it on a big screen or on your largest television. I mean, I had it. I was with you up until she basically left her village.
Yeah.
Because those opening moments really did feel like, a Disney movie. And I did like that part. It's just, after that, I think ultimately is when they introduce the magical elements of it. That's kind of where it's like, okay, this story is not familiar to me.
But you know what? The director, Niki, Caro, she did Whale Rider. And that movie was set in the New Zealand Aboriginal world. And it was very rooted and grounded in that, but it had these magical elements without it being a magical film. There was just something otherworldly about that film. And and I think perhaps this is maybe why she was brought in to do this film, even though this is such a huge, grand scale. And Niki herself has 2 daughters who are tweens and teens or something like that. And I think her perspective as a woman, a parent, someone who's raising young girls, I actually think she's a great choice to have helmed this film. I mean, I don't know why they didn't choose somebody Asian. I don't know the politics behind that, if that was an option or not an option. But
I mean, I have ideas, and like I said, I'm not that person to go race baiting. I don't necessarily fault. I don't necessarily have an issue with the filmmakers. I'm just interested to see if there was more Asian influence in the directing and the script, what it would look like. But it just gave that sense of, well, there's things missing from the culture, and and I will fully admit I am absolutely biased. But
I would be too. I would be too. So if this was set in Ukraine and it was a Ukrainian Mulan, I would be going, where's the borscht and pierogies? You know, like I would be, I respect your opinion on this, and it's really nice to talk about this with you, because it's a different perspective. Your eyes from which you saw this film versus mine were two different colors, were two different genders. So I think a lot of people are going to feel differently. I
mean, I will say that the original animated feature, I mean, you know, there's the same issue. The Asians were not, you know, did not have the script, they did not have the direction, but it was completely embraced. You know, I remember Chinese New Year that year and seeing the Mulan, Disney, you know, lent the Mulan floats to come down the streets of Chinatown, and you know, people loved, you know, we loved Mulan. We fully embraced it, and I just don't get the sense where that's going to happen with this one.
Well, I hope you're wrong. I mean, I
hope so too.
I hope people do embrace it, because to me, this is the type of film that, you know, this is the type of movie I have been craving to see all year long. This is it. I didn't even know I wanted to see this movie until I saw it. Seriously, that's how I feel.
All right. So just based on the fact that you really love the story, you love the message behind it, the, you know, the visual look, I would probably think you gave it an 8.5 to 9.
Yeah, I give it a 9.
9. Yeah.
Oh, Alan, now I have to guess yours. What, a 5?
You know, I still struggle over that. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay.
Like I said, you know, I have very personal issues with the movie, but again, just removing everything, it's to me, it's a standard Disney action movie, and you know, I don't hate it, but you know, I'm definitely going back to the original.
But we all bring our personal.
If I had to see Mulan story.
Yeah, but we all bring our personal issues into.
And I'm so true.
My personal issue is that as a woman, this is the type of film I want young girls to see. So that's the personal issue I bring in as a mother, you know. So yours is your cultural background.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, with that, visit filmthread.com for news and reviews on independent films. Although this is hardly an independent film.
Yeah.
But with that, let's get out of here.